Yes, let's do it.
So I think, and you and I think we need to find something to disagree on, Christopher, because we're so in line on everything here. But yeah, fully in alignment, right? That it's a developed muscle for yourself. You're going to fall down a few times. It can take practice. You can't always expect that you're going to get it. So you need to make it optional. And when you're asking for what's the intended purpose, the same is true of participants. One of the sort of kisses of death that I've seen when it comes to behavior change is all right, now that we're coming to the end of the session, everyone is going to commit to the thing that they're going to do differently leaving the session. It's an immediately disempowering act for them where now it's homework, right? This is not something that I'm doing because I want to change. Even if I did 3 seconds ago, now I'm being told I have to. For a lot of people, that, sort of shuts them off, right?
You thought we were going to disagree on this?
No, in general, we need to find something to disagree on this. That's why I knew this was going to be right in line. So
I was like, what? Yeah, no, I'm going to make the argument for mandatory one-size-fits-all behaviors for everybody. Are you kidding me?
No, not this. I'm saying in general, because you and I are cut from the same cloth, I think. But I've seen that too many times where it's like, how do we get people to shift behaviors after the session? It's like there's something embedded in the language around something you're doing to the participants, as opposed to if we have created an environment where people are being exposed to new information and given the opportunity to find for themselves why that matters, right? We call it the content-context ratio. But if we give enough time to the space to talk it over, to really find the so what we have found is that most human beings like the idea of getting better and like the idea of being in service to their organizations, if only because it advances their career. There's desire there that's innate if we give it a chance to sort of grow and cultivate. So the best way we can do that is to invite participants to consider what was most useful from the session and what the value would be in realizing that behavior change. Then ask, right, what do you want to commit to and how can we help you realize that change?
Well, and I think on that point, and this isn't just related to learning. I see this in management. I see this in leadership. I see this in a lot of things. Far too often we treat adults like they're idiots. We treat them like they're children. And that is one of the most offensive, off-putting things that you can do to any human being, is to treat them as though they don't have the cognitive capability to have experienced something and go, here's something I think I can tangibly do about it. Because again, going back to this, anybody who's in a safe environment, let's just say that, because if you haven't created a safe environment where people feel that it's okay to be honest about things, that's a different situation. But if you've created that environment, any reasonable human being, which if you don't have reasonable human beings at your company, well, then then maybe you need to reevaluate your hiring process.
Yeah.
If you have reasonable human beings and you've created an environment where it's okay to acknowledge, hey, we've just talked about a lot of things. We've done this. People are naturally coming to these conclusions of, hey, I see where I could do better. And I see some of these tangible actions that I can take. And when we don't treat them with the dignity and respect of saying, I don't need to babysit you. I don't need to give you something that my 2-year-old can figure some of this stuff out. Where it's like, hey, why do we not do that? And they can answer that. Why don't I treat adults with the same dignity and respect? And I think that's a real challenge where sometimes we're afraid, well, but if I don't do it, it won't happen. And I think sometimes this goes back to ego. Well, they won't do it my way.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Good. Because you're not them and you're not the one that has to live with that change. So get off your high horse and let them figure out what changes they need to make to be the best version of themselves.
100%. And yes. And then there's potentially an opportunity to help them on the how of realizing that change, right? Like that's the place where a lot of people don't actually know. We just haven't developed the muscle of intentional behavior change. So you can bring systems to help them realize that change when they've taken themselves to a place of, this is what I want to change and why. Beautiful, right? Then and there's a beautiful opportunity as a manager to be more coach-like, or as a facilitator to be more coach-like, to help them on the how and realizing that lasting change.